It's the match of the day on paper. Magnus Carlsen versus Alireza Firouzja. It's round 4 of the Superbet Rapid and Blitz. It's being played in Croatia. Firouzja's leading the tournament. Magnus in second. Let's see what happened. So Magnus kicked off with d4. Alireza goes knight f6, c4, e6. And now we quickly head down a line of the Catalan here with pawn to g3. So d5 played, bishop g2, bishop e7, knight f3, both players castled, and now Alireza takes on c4, main move, and after queen to c2, we don't see this trendy b5 move. We've seen a lot of that recently since Jan played it in the World Championship last year, but instead Alireza goes a6, the standard move here, the classical move, preparing to push b5 if the queen captures here. So Magnus goes a4, there are different lines of course, and Alireza now goes bishop to d7, and this is the thing with this whole system. Although you took on c4, you open up this bishop here, you're quickly actually getting this one to c6, you're delaying the development of this knight here. So the queen now took on c4, bishop c6, and Magnus goes for this bishop g5 line, so immediately putting pressure on that black king side there, delaying the development of this one, and black now needs to figure out a way to strike in the centre at some point. You know, this pawn's cramping space right now, black needs to get this knight developed. So bishop d5 was played to start with, kicks back this queen, and also clears the square now on c6, so that after bishop e4, further harassment of that queen, kicks it back to c1. Now Alireza can develop his knight harmoniously. He also pressures the centre here, and the main moves to actually defend that one are pawn e3, or you can go knight to d2 here, you know, threatening to eliminate the knight, then capture the bishop. There's been a number of games from this position, but Magnus goes rook to d1. And what's interesting is in the Lee Chess database here, the top game from this position is David Howell playing against some lower rated player. He actually went on to win that game. And Howell and Magnus, you know, they've spent a lot of time together recently. You often see videos of them on YouTube hanging out. So maybe it's an idea of Howell's here. Who knows? Anyway, rook d1 played. Alireza said afterwards in an interview that he knew this was slightly inaccurate if you're playing for advantage, and so he wasn't too phased here, although he did have a 6-minute think, you know, just thinking about how to play, and you can see the clock times by the way at the top and bottom here. So after this move, bishop takes on f3, you know, if I just run it back, Alireza's got 26.5 minutes, then he takes here, he's dropped about 7 minutes, so a decent think here. Just checking Magnus out, is he going to be doing anything weird, any opening tricks? But no, he remembers his lines. You can take that knight, then take on d4, because this is a pawn sacrifice, but actually black should be safe, because you don't actually lose this knight here with pawn to e3. Then of course we take here with check, you know, you lose a whole piece. So king g2 is played, but then you can go c5, hold this knight. Looks like you're just losing it to pawn e3, which Magnus played, but then knight b3 is the follow-up here. So if white takes here, then black takes here. Now one option for Magnus was to go queen to c3 here. Then you can go queen b6, defend this knight, you know, you don't have time to take there, this was about to be taken. Then a5 could come, kick the defense, but the queen can move. And you can chase it around queen a3, but then queen a4. And now you really do have to move your rook. It's attacked. It could come here. And then black could even win a pawn here. You know, black should be a bit better in these kind of queen c3 lines. So Magnus didn't try and save his queen. He recognised he shouldn't go for that one. And after knight b3 here, he takes on d8. Alireza takes here. We have a pair of rooks coming off. And now here Magnus took on b7 immediately, although his best was knight to d2, because it covers this b3 square from this knight, forces it to d3, you know, it's attacked here of course, and then you can take on b7, rook a7, bishop back, pawn h6 could kick this one, let's say takes, recaptures, you know, it doesn't have much retreat stuff here, and this is a more accurate way for Magnus to play. The reason being, and I'll run it back here, Magnus takes on b7 immediately, rook a7, bishop back, But now here, Alireza could have played a move which would have given him a small amount of advantage. So because the knight's never developed, never forced knight d3, now you can go knight b3, hit this rook. Forces rook a2, you don't want to come here, you're running into c4 stuff. So that's why rook a2 instead. And now you can go h6, kick the bishop, captures here, say knight c3 developing, and it's just a pleasant kind of edge. Let's say pawn c4. You can see this knight's better than the bishop, rook here. This bishop looks a bit nicer than the white one. The rook could activate more quickly. Now, should technically be drawing, but edge for Alireza. But we didn't have that in the game. Instead of going for this knight d2 move, or knight b3 rather, here Alireza went pawn h6 immediately. So Magnus now went knight d2, he's given that opportunity. Alireza doesn't have time to take here, or Magnus takes here with a better game. So now he has to go knight d3, he can't come here. Magnus takes on f6, bishop captures, and bishop e2 played, hitting this one, eyeing this pawn. The knight now took on here, the rook moved to a2, hits that knight, and now that one's actually getting trapped if you're not careful. We'll see Alireza chuck a pawn here, gives his pawn advantage back. But say he tried something like rook c7, for example, defending the pawn, well then you can go knight e4, and you hit this bishop, which is defending this knight, and that knight's really short of squares, as we can see. So you'd have to go, say, bishop e5, not the best move, but then you run into f4, and you're losing this piece here at the end of the lines. So you can't actually save this pawn. That's why c4 was played. Alireza gives the pawn back, but then he frees his knight. Magnus recaptures, and we're heading for a draw here with the opposite coloured bishops. So these were the final moves. The rook comes back, bishop d3, the rooks came off, and okay, the players shuffled around, exchanged pawns. This was the final position here. So a peaceful result. Magnus didn't show too much there out of the opening. Alireza equalised easily, knew what he was doing, and we wait for the final rounds now. I am playing chess myself tonight, so I can't bring any more recaps, I'm afraid, but I hope to see you soon on a video tomorrow. Do hit that subscribe button, never miss a recap, and thanks very much for watching. See you soon.